Xenophon.
Mr McCormick, this committee has now completed several inquiries in the aviation sector, the most recent, of course, of the Pellier ditching last week. One of the common threads in each inquiry, which was raised specifically in the most recent report, is a pervading fear of retribution from CASA for speaking out. Particularly in the most recent inquiry, the committee continually heard that people did not want to criticise CASA or its operations because they truly believed that there would be some sort of negative reprisal for them. The fears seem to be directed to you and some of your senior managers. Why do you think this is the case? Why is there that perception?
Well, Senator, I was going to make an opening statement where I would address this a bit to say that I'm at a bit of a loss to understand this as well. I can guarantee you we have a policy that if anybody threatens retribution from within CASA or carries out retribution, we will take action. That's the strongest possible action, and I've told everyone in my organisation that. Now, I've recently went around to see...
But it's directed to you as well, though, particularly to you. And I'm raising it fairly, that this is what I'm told, and I dare say some of my colleagues have been told the same thing.
Well, as I say, Senator, no one has brought anything to me or to my Industry Complaints Commission, a complaint about bullying or harassment or anything from my point of view.
You said that at that meeting in Brisbane, and people got up and gave you evidence of where they'd complained.
We have that, if you wish to... Sorry, Senator, you've got a question about the complaint, so I can go through that as well.
Well, no, well, I'm just... I mean, your excuse that no one's ever raised it with you, you said that at this meeting and 3 people got up and gave you examples of where they had complained and where they'd been victimised.
Well, Senator, I will defer to my Industry Complaints Commission a second on the details.
Mr McCormack, you were at that meeting, and I congratulate you for going along. I thought that was very good of you to do that. But can I say to you, there were 83 people there. Before you turned up, I heard 23 separate complaints about all aspects of CASA. I saw you in action, and you might recall there was one occasion where I was occasioned to say to you, well, Mr McCormack, it might be useful if you shut up until the guy finished his question, and that was the tone of the meeting all along. Now, you've got a difficult job, safety's paramount, but 83 people can't be wrong. They can't all be making up these stories. And they gave you on that day evidence of where complaints had been made to you and your people. And you continued to deny it in the face of them telling you that to your face.
Senator, with all due respect, I think you left halfway through the meeting.
I did.
And the second half of the meeting was
They tell me it was much worse. They tell me it was much worse when I left.
Well, the funny thing is, Senator, we ended with no more questions and we actually had a beer.
Oh, well, I'm sure they would, but and since then I've had 6 separate emails about that meeting, all raising complaints. Now, I know this is unfair to you. I could go through every complaint and it would take 10 weeks. But what I'm saying to you in answer to, I'm sorry to Senator Xenophon for butting in,
That's fine.
but in answer to Senator Xenophon, there is this all-pervading fear within the industry, and examples were given. Examples were given of different interpretations by different inspectors. And in fact, Mr McCormack, I was there when you argued with someone about the impact of 145 or something. I didn't know what you were talking about. But a guy got up and told you were wrong, and you had to concede it. And he's given me the example here. And we can go through that. But it's the fear from the industry across the board, not so much to you, although people indicated that your attitude at that meeting was typical of the attitude...
I'm listening intent, and I'm sure that Mr McCormack will have the right of reply. While there is an accusation being put to a witness, I would change the rules to encourage, let the debate carry on so Mr McCormack can defend the accusation being put to him. Normally I would just...
I'll stop there. Senator Xenophon had a question, which
I think on that, Senator McDonald, what I would do is I would give Mr McCormack the right to reply. Should you want to, Mr McCormack. If you don't, we'll go back to questioning.
Well, thank you, Senator. Now, there's no doubt whatsoever that was an animated meeting, but that's one meeting out of dozens that we hold around the place. I went to that meeting, as you said, and thank you for acknowledging that I did go. I took my Associate Director, I took my Industry Complaints Commissioner and my GA Task Force, head of the GA Task Force. On a Saturday, they came up from Canberra, 2 of them, and we met to discuss these issues. Now, we came at the time that we were asked to arrive. The discussion had already got itself wound into an incredible frenzy about Part 145. And you may recall one of the first things I said, put your hand up if you've been asked to transition to 145. Who was actually transitioning to 145? The mistake I made is I said high capacity RPT, which I had to correct to say it's all RPT. I do make mistakes. But I was considerably taken back by some of that as well. Now, Senator, and I'm sorry, I'm directing my comments a little bit to Senator McDonald, but I am including you, Senator Xenophon, if I could. I copied you on a number of emails that were sent to me from people that were at that meeting, including emails that were completely at odds to what was being said publicly. Also by people who had an audit on the very next day saying that he found, and he was one of the most animated people, he was sitting in front of you, saying that he was very worried about retribution, very worried about the efforts that were going to happen with the audit that was on literally Monday, and this was the Saturday. We said nothing to any of our inspectorate staff. They went and did that audit. When he came back, he said that he was very impressed with the professionalism, knowledge and courtesy demonstrated by the inspectors during the audit. I understand the audit was not without its finding and there'll be a number of NCNs issued. Mr. Name Redacted stated that he welcomed the findings as fair and technical appropriate and would use them as a learning outcome and an opportunity to improve his business processes. Now, after this meeting, and as I say, I forwarded it to you, Senator McDonald, if you did not.
Again, because I don't have any of them.
Okay, which included the email where someone referred to me as a complete idiot, which of course is defamatory.
Yeah, I bet you do it when he's not the
I don't think that is.
You wouldn't do it to his face.
All right. But the end result is out of that, Senator, is that I was sufficiently concerned of what the industry was thinking that myself and some of my senior managers, we travelled to Gold Coast Airport, Coffs Harbour, Armidale, not by taxi, thank you, Senator, Armidale, Tamworth, Scone, Cessnock, Newcastle, Sydney, Cairns and Townsville since that meeting. I've met over 17 organisations ranging from RPT operators, maintenance providers...
And no one's complained?
Almost invariably they said, we don't have a problem with CASA, but we've heard this, or we've heard that.
But now, Mr McCormack, I sat and listened to people. I mean, I didn't know what they're talking about. It's far above my head.
And I appreciate your listening as well, Senator. I think it might be best if I ask the Industry Complaints Commission to tell you the actual complaints that we had, obviously without the names of how many we got.
That's getting off.
No, I think, look, under the circumstances, I think we all know what can happen to Hansard when it can be used in bits and pieces. And I think, in all fairness to everyone in this room, I'd hate to see that either party might only have little bits and pieces quoted. I will take the extra time if it needs to be. I won't cut you off, Senator Xenophon, but I think it's only fair to CASA and to Mr McCormack and to Senator McDonald and those who are calling in, get the full story on the table. Now, if that takes all the time up, I'm sorry, but we'll do it, and we'll do it fairly. Okay? So on that, did you want to bring...
Well, can I just say, Mr Chairman, as I said earlier, I could, and what I should do is try, when I've got time, try and collate the complaints and refer them to you. We can't do that today, and I'm not trying to. I did have some broad questions, but perhaps when you finish, if we go back to Senator Xenophon, and then if I've got a couple of seconds, I'll put my two questions to you.
Yeah, but I have been trying to do party-wise, so Senator Ludlam did have a go. But I'm not going to leave it where if does CASA want to add any more, Mr McCormack, you or any of your officers, to Senator McDonald's line of questioning?
If I could, thank you,
You
Chair.
can.
Just
take the time and do it.
Complaints Commissioner to give us a rundown of what actual complaints
Let's do it
we had
properly.
from that meeting at Acacia Ridge.
Complaints from that meeting.
This is the people that were complaining at the time that we took away and said, okay, what were they?
But you told the meeting, Mr McCormack, that you hadn't got any complaints. Someone got up and said to you, to your face, and gave you an instance.
This is from the meeting.
This is from the meeting. I'll defer to my Industry Complaints Commissioner.
Elizabeth Hampton, Industry Complaints Commissioner, CASA. Senator, there were a number of complainants who had made previous complaints to me that were present at that meeting, and there were 3 new complaints that were given to me as a result of that meeting.
Yeah, but Mr McCormack told the meeting there weren't any complaints. That was what they were complaining about, that he was denying that there were any complaints about his officers. My colleague, Warren Inch, doesn't do anything else but complain. In fact, he's publicly named some of your officers, as you know. And the complaints about interpretations, about the New Zealand issue, about the USA versus Europe, about the 145 transition, people begging you to extend the transition period for what seemed to me to be very good reasons, but then I hardly knew what they were talking about.